I often give Billy Donovan a ton of credit for being one of the more transparent front office or leadership people that the Chicago Bulls have. But at the same time, how concerning is it when the head coach of your team not only acknowledges that the team is stuck in the middle, but also that moves probably aren't coming in on the trade market to actually help that team? How concerning is that? We'll talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, hosted by Haize, your number one spot for all things Chicago Bulls.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And we'll take this at surface level for what it is, right? Billy Donovan, in a interview with The Athletic, not only admits that the Chicago Bulls are stuck in the middle, but he also says some things that allude to and that point to the fact that moves probably are not coming for the Chicago Bulls team. As a matter of fact, it seems like the Bulls are more so betting on internal development to get themselves out of the middle. I'm going to read the direct quote from Billy Donovan. It says this: "We don't want to just be stuck in the middle, but I think the building out part that we have to look at is the totality of our entire team, where you're identifying guys that are going to help us maybe get out of the middle and move forward. I don't think that we do have guys on our team that, to me, emulate or model a competitiveness that I like and appreciate. I do think that we have guys that..." So what it comes down to, and the way that I'm taking these comments from Billy Donovan, and again, this is a small clip of a larger article. Go and check it out. Sam Amick at The Athletic interview with Billy Donovan. But in Billy Donovan saying that we don't want to just be stuck in the middle, but you have to identify guys that are going to help us get out of the middle. So what that is pointing to me is that not only do the Chicago Bulls realize that they are in the middle, and apparently this is something that has internally been talked about, they acknowledge. And, I've never heard, at least in my opinion, you guys tell me what you feel of it, I don't think I've ever heard a coach admit to his team being in the middle. I think that usually you hear coaches say, well, we're competitive, we're trying to fight, we're trying to claw, we're trying to develop, things like that. We see the teams that are above us, we feel that we're competing with those. But again, to see that Billy Donovan, the guy leading this team on the court at least, says we don't want to be stuck in the middle, but what we're doing is identifying guys that we hopefully are helping us going to get out of the middle, and that they think that they have that on this team. Now, here's what I'll say. You want a coach to be honest about the evaluation that they have on this team. I would much rather hear Billy Donovan admit that this team is stuck in the middle than him trying to come out and sell us a bill of goods that we're all looking at and saying, Billy, what the fuck are you talking about? I would much rather have honesty there. So I appreciate the honesty. I want to be clear there. But at the same time, if your head coach, and again, this is something that I'm saying, right? Listen, Billy Donovan's coaching, I'm taking out of this, right? For the nature of this conversation. But if your head coach, imagine being a front office, the ones in charge of the roster. And this is why when people came and they said things like, when I had the conversation on, is it really only Billy Donovan, or is he also impacted by the front office's inability for the roster? For when people responded, shout out to Bloody Horns, one of my boys, that is my dog, never a bad thing to say about him. But he was like, well, Billy has an input on the roster. Okay, cool. But if Billy Donovan is telling the front office, hey, this is a mid roster, and the front office say, all right, cool, Billy, go make it work, I get it. Billy Donovan's still not a great head coach. Billy Donovan still doesn't adjust. Billy Donovan still can't draw up an inbound play. All the negativities about Billy Donovan still maintain true. This is not a statement to ignore the limitations of Billy Donovan as a head coach. But if your head coach is sitting there telling y'all this roster's mid as fuck, and the front office saying, well, Billy, This is what we got for you. Go and figure out which one of these guys is going to get us out of being mid as fuck. What do you expect him to do? Is he's already not a coach that elevates a roster hugely. He's not that coach. So when you're saying that and you're saying, hey, we're trying to identify which one of these guys on this roster are going to get us out of the middle, and your roster has primarily been the same, right? Yes, Coby is taking a step up. Io's taking a step up. Dalen and Julian are playing more minutes. You brought in Josh Giddey to this roster. Manas Bucilis is your draft pick who has a super bright future, but you're not playing him a lot. Again, this is so frustrating because what are we doing as an organization to get out of the middle? The results are telling you you're in the middle. This is your third year in a row with the exact same record at the middle of the season. The outcome is telling you, results and outcome a little bit different. It's telling you that you're in the middle. You don't own your own first round pick outright this season. Your players aren't necessarily developing. What the fuck is this team doing to get out of the middle? That's the question that I have here more importantly than anything. Apathy ain't getting nowhere, nobody nowhere. Listen, comprehension is fundamental. Comprehension is very fucking fundamental if you're going to ask a dumbass question like that. I told y'all, Petty Roosevelt is back. We back on demon time. Where did I say that Billy has no say in the roster? But if you think he has complete, do you think Billy Donovan, a player that loves their veterans, told the front office, hey, don't get any picks back for trading Alex Caruso? Do you think Billy Donovan said, hey, we're not going to re-sign DeMar DeRozan because, again, Billy Donovan has no understanding of the cap, and then said, hey, at the trade deadline, don't worry about trading him. Let's try to force a sign and trade and get less assets back. Listen to what the fuck I'm saying if you're going to ask a dumbass question. How about you do that? All right? That's what we need to do first and foremost. If we're going to ask dumb questions, make sure that you listen to what you're asking a dumbass question about. Because where did I say Billy has no input on the roster? But he doesn't have the end-all be-all say on the roster. You think Billy Donovan told them to go and draft Dalen Terry when they needed a center? When you look at the way that AK is drafted, do you think that that's a Donovan thing, or do you think that's an AK thing? Do you think that it's Billy Donovan telling them to not take advantage of their deals? What are we talking about? AK is the end-all be-all of all of this. I'm not saying that Billy Donovan doesn't have his part. He has a huge place in the negative place that this team is in as well. But at the end of the day, this team is like the okay with being in the middle is utterly disgusting. It's disgusting. Your head coach has now gone out and publicly said, yeah, we're in the middle. We're in the middle. But we're hopeful that one of these guys are going to get us out the middle. Listen. The state of the Chicago Bulls are utterly frustrating, at the very least, right? I'm not going to say it's completely disgusting because there are a lot of teams worse than the Chicago Bulls. A lot of teams are worse than the Chicago Bulls. But when you look at the mismanagement of assets, the mismanagement of players, and the contentment, how content this front office is in this Chicago Bulls team being in the middle is really utterly disgusting. Now, this is, I do agree with trade for, listen, and I've said this before. I don't know how much of an impact this has, Raleigh, but I will say this, is that if Bulls fans feel like what they need to do to display how upset they are with the state of this team is not going to games, I support it. However you feel like you need to show up, I support it. Great question here as well, Legend. Listen, this is why I said this is not a Billy Donovan excuse fest. He has his place in where the Bulls are as well. I'm a few minutes behind in the stream. How the F is Billy expecting internal growth when we won't give extended minutes to guys like Bucilis? I guess by osmosis. hope, prayer. I have no idea. Maybe he's doing a magical Indian rain dance behind the scenes to help these guys develop. I don't know. Don't forget the Patrick Williams number 4 pick, bro, when he averaged 4 points per game off the bench. Shouldn't have been drafted high where he was. Well, that's worked out. I mean, look at Devin Vassell. Same situation, but look at how Devin Vassell's excelled. It was a weak draft, too. Let's be clear. That draft was weak overall, so I can understand wanting to try to find the diamond in the rough, but either way, it didn't work out. That's the way. Either way, it didn't work out, right? So that's the result. The result of it is that it didn't work. The franchise is cooked, especially if the lack of moves prevents Modest from developing. Football. Again, I think we won't agree on this, but I don't see any way of things being different unless there's a mass apathy from the fan base, plus more push to stop going to games. Listen, I'll tell you this, right? And like I said to the other guy that commented, I'm all for people protesting in whatever way that they see fit, as long as, of course, you're not doing something radical. But I'm telling you, that would take such a long process. Like I said before, and this is just the results, football, is that the Bulls attendance dropped before. But keep in mind, people like to point to the Bulls attendance dropping and saying, hey, that's why we saw some movement. The attendance dropped, and it still took John Paxson to go to the Reinsdorf and say, hey, you probably need to bring in a new face to do this. I don't know how to do this anymore. If it wasn't for Jim Paxson having listen, he made a lot of mistakes over his tenure here. But if it wasn't for him being as honest and having the objectivity to be able to say, hey, I can't do this anymore, Paxson would still be our GM right now. Now, I don't know if Gar would have stayed on, but Pax would still be our GM despite attendance dropping, despite the billboard, despite the team not making the playoffs, despite all of that. Pax would have kept his job if it wasn't for him going to AK and admitting he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And that should be a huge concern here, right? That should be a huge concern because at that point, the results weren't there. So what, like, it took for the guy to be able to say that? Like, that's crazy. Michael, hire that guy. He should have got the Warriors OGM when he was available. And I'll tell you what, and I again, I don't know whenever this is going to happen, but if Steve Kerr, whenever he leaves the Warriors, and he's already talked about like, hey, I'm probably not going to be the coach here when the next phase of this team happens. I would love Steve Kerr to be the Bulls' next GM. I would love for him to be the Bulls' next GM. Now, that's not to say that everything is going right with the Warriors, but I do think this. I think that Steve Kerr would put the right people in place to develop guys at the very minimum. Tom Thibodeau win-loss Bulls record as a head coach with us 5 years, 255 and 139, fired. This is currently Billy Donovan's 5th season with the Bulls, a head coach, 174, 184 extension. That's crazy. It's hilarious how Billy Donovan is saying this to the media, but he has yet to say this, Jerry and Michael, whom he talks to. Well, listen, no, I do believe that he said that to them. I just think that they don't care. I don't doubt that Billy Donovan has said, hey, this roster I can only do so much with. I have no doubts that Billy Donovan has been honest in conversations with the front office and been like, hey, if we get 40 wins, we may be lucky this season. I think Billy Donovan has had that conversation. But I think the front office, ownership, Michael and Jerry just like, hey, what are the ticket sales like? How much money are we making? And I think AK is like, listen, we're right there. We're right there. If we would have won 2 more games, we would have been the 5th seed instead of the 6th. Like, that's how I think AK views it. That's how I think he views it. Haize, it's losses like yesterday that can make me more mad at these players and coaching staff anymore, but more so Acme themselves. I don't care. I'm ready for Acme era to end. A lot of people agree with you there, brother. A lot of people agree with you there. I think Billy's trying to get fired. He tired of AK. I mean, he could just quit. He could just quit. He can literally just quit. Should Pax actually draft better and put the team better than AK? That's the distinct difference. When John Paxson was the GM, he drafted very well. He still made some mistakes. Tyrus Thomas over LaMarcus Aldridge, that was a mistake. Marcus Teague, that was a mistake. When you look at who was I think that would have been Gar. Gar drafted Jimmy, and I think everything after that was all questionable and misses. Paxson drafted extremely well, and Paxson had to rebuild the team twice and did a pretty good job. Billy needs to pull a John Paxson and tell AK he ain't trying to coach this team anymore. That is hilarious. I don't even know how many years Acme has on his contract. Wouldn't be surprised if there was there's already has been. He got an extension when Billy got an extension. We just don't know for how long. So yeah, everybody, remember it came out first. We heard that Billy Donovan got a secret extension. And then the year after that, we heard that, oh no, actually the whole front office got an extension. So there you go on that one. I can't imagine the biggest Petty Roosevelt coming out of you at the trade deadline if we do nothing for the 4th straight year. I think stuff is going to get wrecked in your no, it's not, because I expect it. Like, honestly, things don't piss me off that I expect, no matter how bad they are. I expect. I've been saying it for weeks now. I expect the Bulls to do nothing at the trade deadline. It is what it is. At this point, I have no feelings on it at all. I just want another AK press conference about how this team season was unacceptable, then run the same team back. He got to go if this team is trash or playing again. Hey, but he won't. I'm telling you right now. I get what you're saying, Ricardo, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just telling you that ain't going to happen. As far as he's not going to be gone. He's still going to be here. He's still going to be here. And that's the most sad part about all of this, is that to know that no matter what failures this team has, the chance that AK is removed as president of basketball operations anytime soon is just likely not going to happen. It just is what it is. It is what it is. Like, people forget too. Do y'all remember? Because people like to think that Paxson took over as GM, and he did. He did a really good job. But y'all forget, Krause was still the president of basketball operations that whole entire time. Jerry Krause was still the president of basketball operations until John Paxson moved from GM to president of basketball operations. Krause was here that whole entire time. We don't move off of presidents of basketball operations. Once you become the president of basketball operations, you're basically locked the hell in. You're basically locked in. You got to keep that in mind. So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. It really sucks, man. It really sucks. And head up, bro. The whole starting lineup is out for the Hawks tonight with the injuries reported. I don't think Dyson Daniels is out. Isn't Dyson Daniels still in? I know I saw KC posted, but I think, isn't Dyson still in? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Dyson's still in. It's not their whole starting lineup, but a lot of them are. So there's that. But all right, y'all. I appreciate you guys for sticking through with me on this one. I saw that article, I read it, and I was like, I'll just talk about it on the pregame show. But I'm like, no, F that. The people deserve to know. And so we have a head coach that admits that this roster is stuck in the middle, but yet the front office is completely content with it. Like I said, Billy Donovan, say what you will about him. He has a lot of shortcomings as a head coach. But honestly, when we want honest things of what's going on with this team, it really usually comes from Billy Donovan. Now, he's not honest on what he's going to do, but it is what it is. Who Billy Donovan is? Billy Donovan is the guy that he tells everybody else's business, but doesn't tell any of his own. Like, Billy Donovan will literally tell you all of everybody's business in the Chicago Bulls. He'll tell you who's out with injury. He'll tell you what he believes the roster construction's messed up. He believes how bad the defense is going to be. He admitted that the Bulls are probably not making any moves at the trade deadline. But you know what Billy Donovan is going to admit? Hey, I can't draw up an inbound plays to save my life. Hey, you know what? I'm not giving Modest Bucelis anything. Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Push Forward TV. Just when I thought they were going to do a crazy move, they're doing nothing again. God, 31 years of a Bulls fan, and this shit gets beyond old. Hey, bro, 38 years, bro. I've been a Bulls fan 38 years. All my time on this planet. I've seen some good times. Listen, and I'll say this, for my Bulls fans that never got to see the Chicago Bulls win the championship, I don't know how y'all do it, bro. I really don't know how y'all do it. Because at least I have avid memories of the last 3-peat. I still saw that. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Hey, at least we now know we can stop. I honestly, at this point, I may not even do any more videos anytime trade news comes out because Billy Donovan has basically said it. This team's not doing any moves. Now again, he's the coach, not the GM, so he could not be privy to some things. But when Billy Donovan says, and for those that are just hopping on, I'm going to reread the quote from Billy Donovan. We don't want to be just stuck in the middle, but I think the building out part that we have to look at is at the totality of our entire team, where you're identifying guys that are going to help us maybe get out of the middle and move forward. He couldn't even commit to the guys on the roster helping them get out the middle. He said helping us maybe get out the middle. So Billy Donovan doesn't even believe necessarily that the players on this roster are going to help them get out the middle. He says maybe get out the middle. Sorry, it's frustrating me more the more I read this quote. I do think that we do have guys on our team that, to me, emulate or model a competitiveness that I like and appreciate. That's the most backhanded compliment. Yeah, I think you model the competitiveness that I look for. I think you do, but I still think maybe you can get us out the middle. Maybe I'm just looking at it glass half full. Maybe I'm just looking at it glass half empty. Love you guys, man. Make sure you guys stay in tune with us, man. Make sure you guys follow us at at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely, beautiful people. I'll see y'all tonight before the game. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.